and refer the bill to the President for assent within 7 days of its passage by the National Assembly. In the circumstances, I wish to inform the House that I am in the process of transmitting the bill to His Excellency the President for assent. I thank you. Yes, Senator Chararge, what's your point of order?
No, Mr. Speaker, I thought after you had read that message, maybe I could just make a quick comment. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the National Assembly for expeditiously passing the County Allocation Revenue Act. And I wish in future the same National Assembly should also be fast-tracking the passage of some of the bills that originate from the Senate, so that we can continue to work together as a parliament as envisaged under Article 93. Finally and secondly, Mr. Speaker, I have seen the COG chair and also Council of Governors and counties are complaining that there is a chronic delay of disbursement by the National Treasury of their disbursements. But I hope the Minister in charge of National Treasury, Mr. Yatani, will be able to either disperse and give us the schedule of disbursement so that the counties can continue, Mr. Speaker, to be able to access services. And I want to, of course, as you transmit to His Excellency the President, for him also to ascend expeditiously, because our counties are going through hard times where salaries have not been paid, development programs are stalling, and when development programs stall in our counties, Mr. Speaker, it translates to a lot of pending bills and therefore service delivery is delayed. And Mr. Speaker, as I want to call upon the House that in future we need to relook about this issue of delayed disbursement by the National Treasury to our counties so that our counties do not continue to suffer. We need our counties up and running, and we need also transparency and accountability from the part of governors that we have in this country. So that is a significant step. I hope counties, the COG chair has threatened that they might shut down the counties, but I hope this one will bring a hope so that counties can continue service delivery to our great people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, that's a very timely communication, and the speed at with which the National Assembly has passed the CARA is passed by the Senate is commendable, and we are hoping that within the next 7 years, actually much less time, the President will find time and reason to assent to the bill. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, and following on what Senator Chararge has just commented on, Mr. Speaker, it is true that CARA is probably one of the most important bills that will be passed by this House on the matter of sharing of revenue among counties. Mr. Speaker, what baffles me is that there are counties that are able to continue paying salaries to their staff without delays, irrespective of whether CARA has passed or has not passed. But the other counties, Mr. Speaker, that a slight delay in the passage of CARA or even a slight delay in disbursement occasions long delays in payment of salaries. Mr. Speaker, it must be incumbent upon governors to come up with innovative ways of ensuring that at the very least the payments of salaries to staff is not affected by technical delays in passage of either CARA or disbursements from the Treasury. And I have had conversations, Mr. Speaker, with some governors who have gone out of their way to have deals with commercial banks where counties deposit their monies. And they have even established standing orders with those commercial banks that at the clock of 26th of every month, all salaries are processed, whether there is money in their accounts or there is no money in their accounts. Mr. Speaker, our governors need to be innovative. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, this chair of COG, I think he has a default setting that whenever there is a problem, he just thinks about closing counties. He must think beyond that. And he has even no capacity to close any county. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a different comment altogether. I just want to register my disappointment with the disparaging remarks about this House, about you as a Speaker, that were made by various members of the National Assembly during the debate on this bill yesterday. Mr. Speaker, as a leader in this House, I take great exception in the fact that there was a Speaker on the chair. He knows very well the standing orders of the National Assembly, what it requires of them if they need to discuss the conduct of any member of Parliament. Least of all, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that he allowed even certain members to make very unsavory remarks about you, Mr. Speaker, without intervening, without asking them to withdraw. I would wish to send you, Mr. Speaker, because I know you occasionally consult with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable J.B. Muturi. Please register our disappointment collectively as a House. We are not short of insults and not very good superlatives that we can use on that House. But because we are honorable people, Mr. Speaker, we keep our discussions to levels of decency and ensuring that at every time when we debate issues, though we may hold contrary views to those of many of the members of the National Assembly, we are always decent people and we keep our conversation to be within the confines of law, Mr. Speaker. I saw even members whose counties were being denied funds, or they were going to lose funds in the formula that had been proposed before this House, deriding this House and saying all manner of things, and you wonder, where is the conscience of some of these members? Some of them are in leadership, like the Minority Whip, Honorable Junet Mohammed, and so many of them that I could mention, Mr. Speaker. They need to be named and shamed. And please pass our message to Honorable J.B. Muturi that this House did not take that kindly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wetangula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to register my appreciation to the message that you have delivered, that now Kara is passed. I believe the President will expeditiously assent to the bill so that it becomes an act to effect orderly management of resources between the two governments. But, Mr. Speaker, as we do so, I want to take the opportunity to say two things. Number one, that COG should understand and appreciate that it is not a trade union. COG is degenerating into a very poorly managed and poorly organized trade union. If you look at the setup of COG, it is a coming together of governors who then can engage the national government in an orderly, legal, constitutional manner. The chairman of COG has absolutely no authority in law and or in fact to direct any county to close down. At all. And what they should be doing, Mr. Speaker, is when there is a shortage of money, COG and its chair should be asking the national government, how come you have no shortage of payment of salaries to your staff and we are suffering? Because we know that on vote on account and the advisory from the Supreme Court, the counties should be able to access at least 50% of their previous year's allocation. Second and lastly, Mr. Speaker, I also join Senator Cheriot in saying what he has said, that dignity and decorum are the cornerstone of the management of parliaments. And the unsavory things that I heard members saying against this House in general and you in particular are totally unhelpful. And this House will not reduce ourselves to their level. Some of them are in Parliament through accidental processes, and that is how they behave the way they do. we want to remain above board and remind them that should they wish to discuss our speaker, which they have the right to, let them draft a motion and table it and let it be discussed, and there will be many people who will air their views in the alternative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Since this was just a communication, I think those are enough comments. But somebody said if you wrestle with a pig, you both get dirty, but the pig enjoys it. So we will. But I just also wanted to assure the House that we're working around the clock to ensure that we get an appointment for the President to assent to the bill tomorrow, as early as tomorrow. So we are, so that we can look at. Next order.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Leader, is it? Chair is ICT. ICT. Vice Chair. Any member from the committee? ICT. You are in ICT? Yeah? Approach. She's the Vice Chair ICT. I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Wednesday, 7th October 2020. Report of the Senate Standing Committee on Information and Technology on the consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2018. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, statements.
Statement, there was supposed to be a statement by Petronilla Were. She's not here, so it's dropped. Number 1 and 2. So, statement from Dr. Langat.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise in person to the Standing Orders 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads and Transport regarding the stalled construction works on 2 major bridges in Bomet County. In the statement, committee should 1, explain why the construction works at 88th of Mengichik and Tarkambay bridges in Mpomo's ward, Bomet County respectively, have stalled since 2013. Number 2, the committee also should provide an audit report of the projects and state why the projects were abandoned. Number 3, state the plans, if any, by the Bomet County government to complete the construction of the 2 bridges. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Nderitu, you want to comment on the statement?
Asante Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii. Nataka kuchangia ripoti ambayo imeletwa na seneta wa Bomet kusema ya kwamba inaonekana kana kwamba kumeanzishwa miradi mingi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ambayo haimalizwi, inaanzishwa alafu inawachwa katikati, inakuwa ni kama hakukuwa na haja yoyote ya huo mradi. Si barabara peke yake, daraja. Ukitembelea Bwana Spika, hata Laikipia unapata barabara ya kutoka Narumoru kupitia mahali kunaitwa Kehato ukielekea mahali kunaitwa Makutano. Barabara, Bwana Spika, imekuwa kwa muda mrefu iko pale, haiendeshwi, hakuna jambo lote linafanyika. Na ilhali ukiuliza unapata yule ambaye amepewa ile kandarasi, yeye mwenyewe amelipwa na hakuna kazi yote. Wengine wanafanya kazi kiholela, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kamati itakayopewa hilo jukumu iangalie kwa mapana na marefu na ilete waziri aitwe hapa ndio aweze kutuelezea, hasa waziri wa barabara, kwa sababu mambo ya barabara na daraja zimekuwa ni kizungumkuti. Kila wakati ukiuliza unaambiwa ndio barabara nyingine ilikuwa ikianzishwa, alafu tayari baada ya mvua kunyesha ikabebwa na mafuriko ya maji. Bwana Spika, barabara hata na mabawa si mkate ya kuwa mtu atakula alafu aweke karatasi kwa mfuko. Inapaswa haya maneno yaangaliwe vizuri, na kusema kama ni barabara inajulikana muda ambao inapaswa kuchukua. Si barabara inaambiwa inatengenezwa, ama hata mabawa ya maji yanasema yanatengenezwa, lakini baada ya kulipwa wale makandarasi wanaondoka. Asante Bwana Spika.
A statement from Senator Kericho County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights regarding human rights violation by the police. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain why there are increased cases of unconstitutional interference with freedom of movement, association and assembly by the police who have been meting out violence on Kenyans, including political leaders. Number 2, state why the police are continuously disrupting public functions every weekend instead of providing security at the said functions. 3, explain what measures the relevant authorities are taking to prevent a breakdown of the rule of law and protection of human rights of citizens in the run-up to the 2022 general election. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, state the policy and mitigative measures, if any, put in place by Kenya National Human Rights Commission on Human Rights, National Police Service Commission, and the Independent Police Oversight Authority to curb this trend of abuse of human rights and general interference with the rights of citizens. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important issue that affects almost all our colleagues in this House who, for one reason or the other, have fallen victims to the use of police to settle political scores lately. It will be important that this committee deals with this matter expeditiously, because we are seeing increased case of violence by use of the police almost every weekend. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Linturi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me thank Senator Kericho, my good friend Arun, for bringing this statement. And Mr. Speaker, I think for those that have forgotten history, I think it's important for me to take this opportunity to remind Kenyans and those that were in Parliament, the National Assembly, in the 10th Parliament. I think it's only Moses Wetangula and Haniri. I can't see anybody else. That is probably Outa. There's very few members that are in this House, Mr. Speaker. And that time we were faced with a serious problem because we had just been elected and the country was facing serious problems because of the post-election violence. Mr. Speaker, that time, you know, the build up to that violence and taken quite some time because of the nature and conduct of politicians during meetings and during the electioneering period. And the events were so banned that we would not want to get there. To the extent that, Mr. Speaker, we were inviting the ICC to come to Kenya and do investigations in this country. And you all remember the culprits, or the first people to go to the ICC in this country, Mr. Speaker, was one, Commissioner Halley, who was in charge of the police. And Mr. Speaker, What is happening now? The second, of course, is not in doubt, is the president, the current president of the Republic of Kenya, his deputy, and others. Mr. Speaker, when we are getting 2 years, when we are 2 years before the general elections, there is need for serious political tolerance, Mr. Speaker, and the police to ensure that what informed even the change of name from a police force to a police service is because we wanted the police to operate within certain conduct and behavior that conforms with aspects of human rights and dignity of the people that they have to deal with. So this continued use of the police, other than keeping security and ensuring that citizens are able to do their things in the, with peace, Mr. Speaker, is something regrettable. Mr. Speaker, in Meru County, a few weeks ago, we lost a student who had just finished university in the hands of violence of the police. There is a gentleman by the name Morevi who is right now in his house because he has been beaten, maimed by the police. These are matters that the Police Oversight Authority has taken. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to address the Commissioner of Police now and tell him, please take control of the police force, of the police service. The police should never be instructed by forces outside because that is not what the law says. And be cautious because you must operate within the law. And if this one continues, because the way things are now, we are so apprehensive and we want to tell the international community to be watchful of this country because of the events that are taking place in this country. Because we didn't want to get back to where we were in the year 2007, 2008. It was not easy to change the constitution to allow to share power in this country, and we must allow the Kenyan people to decide whether they want to elect as their president, because we cannot allow a situation whereby there are those people you call deep state, there are those people you call system, nonsense and silly of such situations. Mr. Speaker, thank you. I hope the Justice Committee is able to bring this forth, and I would have loved a situation whereby even the Committee on Justice, on National Security comes in to assist and to share those experiences, because there are so many other things that are happening, Mr. Speaker. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. But this country belongs to all of us. We all deserve the protection of the police because we are taxpayers in this country, and the police should never be used by those people that think this country belongs to all of them, or we are in this country out of the invitation of anybody.
You know, these statements are under Standing Order 48(1). So those who are, it's to a committee, try to ask what they should investigate, what other information they should get. Don't make personal statements, comments. Senator Mtula Kilonzo Jr. Sakaja, what's your... Okay. Senator Mtula Jr.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to say we are, as a country, trading very dangerously. As politicians, we are also trading very dangerously with the peace of this country. Now, I need not remind the Jubilee government that you came together, told us you are the ones who are fighting, and therefore have brought peace by coming together. No, I must say it. Jubilee is founded on the principle that you are joining warring parties and tribes together. And Jubilee is dividing Kenya. We must tell you. And we must tell you, while we sit on the other side, that we are not going to allow you to split this country or join it when you feel like. When you want, you merge. When you don't want, you split. This country doesn't belong to all of you. It belongs to all of us. So even though I agree, and I want to remind Mithika Linturi that even the question of ICC cannot come. Why? Because the principle of ICC under the Rome Statute is that we have failed as a country in our criminal justice system. That's not exactly a very good thing. So while you continue fighting as to who is going to be what, where, while we are also with you in making sure that we will not allow you to drag this country into a war, we must watch our statements as a country. That person who lost their life, or two people, or that woman who was bleeding, and even what is worse, my dear colleagues, somebody actually took a video of a woman who was bleeding, to interrogating them like the police, instead of even wiping her blood. What do you mean it was a tomato? That was blood. Now, instead of giving her first aid, that woman was interrogated and ashamed. We must condemn violence in whatever form, from whichever party. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee that is going to handle this, and Senator Shionga is giggling behind me, and in fact, it is our committee that should have spoken. In fact, I'm surprised that the Committee of National Cohesion has not made a statement. It's unfortunate. I saw this in Makueni recently. The chair is behind me. I saw this recently. And I condemned heckling when I saw it in Makueni, because I know that this heckling will lead to more heckling. The politicians will be tempted to hire more people to heckle. Eventually, people are going to stone one another.
Senator Shionga, what's your intervention?
Oh.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. When you rattle a snake, then you expect. Mr. Speaker, I have a whole folder here, and it is not my turn. It is his turn. I don't think if it was wise for him to mention Senator Shionga, who has not spoken, but I'm coming up with statements and all that I have done for that committee with my committee member. So let us just keep quiet and continue.
Yeah, what is...
Okay.
Senator Shionga, what is out of order?
He is out of order because, Mr. Speaker, when he talks, when he starts preempting what he has not heard from me, then he's out of order. He's out of order completely.
Okay, Senator Shionga, you're out of order yourself. Take your seat. Senator Mutula, conclude.
You know, by the way, Senator Shionga sometimes makes our point of order looks like mathematical formulas. You know, why A is equals to B, those things of Senator Sakaja. But, Mr. Speaker, all of us must condemn violence. Somewhere in Nakuru, Rongai, as you drive in, you see blue mabati houses built with mud. Those are post-election violence families that were relocated to Rongai as a result of the post-election violence. We lost neighbors who I know. So it must send chills to all of you, irrespective of who we want to support for presidency, that it is not good. Can never be godly for people to die because we want positions of power. It will never be. And the blood of those people is on our hands. And if you do this to other families, somebody is going to do this to you. If you think, and I'm speaking to some of you who are seated here, go with your families and your children to political rallies. Carry them and put them at the front. As people are throwing stones, put them in your car. So that when they are tear gas, your family is inside there. If you're not going to do that, then don't allow families of people who have come to your rallies to be injured while you're there. I know what you said, Irungu Kangata. It's shameful. You should condemn. Wiper wants to open an office in Kenol. I hope you're going to be a little more kind to other political parties that are in this country when they're coming to your jurisdiction. Thank you.
Senator Bogisho.
Speaker, let me speak. The Speaker, you have to protect Majority Leader.
Okay, order. Let's consult in low tones.
From the Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a comment on how we run our business in this House, Mr. Speaker. And there are people, Mr. Speaker, colleagues in this House, who have formed the habit, Mr. Speaker, of simply using statement to get an opportunity to bash government, to say things that, Mr. Speaker, don't even bring peace in themselves. I thought that the Honorable Cheruyot raised a very good issue. My colleague came from Meru, came and made it a Meru issue and made it a time to bash government. You know, it is not good, Mr. Speaker, that we use an opportunity where it's not even there to debate a matter which is not even be debated. It's supposed to go to committee. And then after that, we can make comments. Mr. Speaker, I just thought that there is developing a habit, Mr. Speaker, which should not be entertained, where the idea is just raise something, you can bash government. And government is bashing government. And making sure, Mr. Speaker, that we people using words like that the police are being used by certain people, no substantiation, no nothing. I think we should just come out clearly.
What's your point of intervention, Senator Wambua?
Speaker, I really hate to interrupt my senior. But, Mr. Speaker, it is the responsibility of government, not just the Kenyan government, it is the responsibility of government everywhere in the world to ensure the safety and security of its citizens. So when matters of security and safety of citizens are brought up in a statement or otherwise, and members ventilate in a manner to call the attention of government to act to ensure peace and stability in the nation, that should not be misconstrued, Mr. Speaker, as bashing government. So is the leader in order to say that questioning government over issues of insecurity is bashing government? Is he in order, Mr. Speaker?
Leader of majority.
I think everybody's entitled to.
There's another point of order. What's your point of order, Cherarge? Then we need to make progress.
Mr. Speaker, I've had, if I had it right, and I don't know whether members had it, the majority leader has stated that Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. is bashing the same government and is part of government. I thought under our standing orders,
No, order, Senator.
Just let me finish.
He didn't say that. He never said that. Don't bring other issues. You are out of order. Take your seat.
Mr.
Leader,
Speaker,
continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'm just concluding by saying there are opportunities, Mr. Speaker. If you really want a statement from government on a particular issue, you can do it. You can raise it as specific as possible. But I'm just saying, Mr. Speaker, this particular statement, the category that comes with, does not allow for us to debate this matter. It's not the kind of time. And, Mr. Speaker, I've seen even people who should be using personal statements, instead of using personal statements, come around in another way to try and arrive at the same thing. I think we should just follow our standing orders and make sure that you can directly ask a question to government, you can challenge government, you can say anything you want, but let's not use opportunities which are not even there to try and do the same, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Wetangula, I said those who contribute, this is under 48(1). Therefore, come up with other issues. I mean, how you want the committee to
Mr. Speaker, what is happening in our good country today is worrisome. And if I was in the shoes of my distinguished friend and brother, Senator Bogisio, as the leader of the majority, in fact, he should have stood up to inform the House that this is the kind of statement he himself, and not a committee chair, will bring to the House. In fact, Mr. Speaker, yesterday I came here in anticipation that the majority leader would, on his own motion, issue a statement on the happenings in Kenol. The war drums going on in this country, Mr. Speaker. You lead government business, and government has every duty to protect lives and properties of all Kenyans and our visitors in this country. Mr. Speaker, what happened at Kenol and what appears to be mutating into now a norm for political bad behavior all over the country is worrisome. Mr. Speaker, you may remember that I carry in this House, together with Senator Orengo, Senator Ongeri, the late Mutula Kilonzo, Sally Kosgei, Mother Karua, William Ruto, as the team that sat at Serena when this country was on fire. And what we went through is not an experience to behold. And we don't seem to have learned any lessons, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, a rapidly pro-government media house carried a very worrisome story. That intelligence had it that there was going to be violence and chaos at Kenol, and that the police responsible for security at Kenol were advised to leave their stations and go home. Mr. Speaker, if this is happening in our country, then God help us. Because, and I'm very sure, the skirmishes that we saw at Kenol, even 20 policemen would have stopped it if they were properly briefed. And we are told the intelligence gave information that there were underhand currents showing that there was going to be violence, and we've lost human lives. In fact, the government owes Kenyans an apology for failing to maintain peace and security. Mr. Speaker, the famous case from Zanzibar of Kimanga versus the Republic, Mutula Kilonzo should know this, as a practicing lawyer, and Senator Faduma. He says a breach of peace cannot be imagined to be committed in the presence of policemen. If policemen were there, there would have been no breach of peace because it's their duty to maintain peace. So I want to urge my brother Bogisio, and his is the head that wears the crown, said Shakespeare. And the crown is on your head in this house. And you must constantly assure us as your colleagues that all is well and all will be well. Because I also want to go to Kenol and open an office for Ford Kenya. I hope Senator Kangata will not be there picketing and shouting and throwing crude weapons at me when I go there. Nobody needs a visa to go to any part of this country. And everybody is welcome to go anywhere and everywhere to propagate correct political messages to hold our country together. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Dulo. Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to add my point to this statement, and first let me take this opportunity to thank Senator Cheriot. Mr. Speaker, it's right to protect Kenyans' right. Number two is the responsibility of the police to protect the right of the citizens. But it is really wrong for us to stand here every now and then blaming police. Why I'm saying this? We are also to be blamed as politicians. Because if you are told this place is insecure, you should stop going there because it's not a matter of life and death. Mr. Speaker, where we are heading as a country, we should not actually blame government only. We should blame ourselves as politicians, as leaders of this country, because we all have right to protect and bring peace to our country. Mr. Speaker, what I really wanted to advise the committee, which is, I believe, is going to be security. Where we are heading is a dangerous zone. We should come up with the legislation. All those politicians who are going to be involved in violence should be stopped and blocked from contesting come 2022. I thank you.
Senator Kangata. Then I see a lot of leaders, but we have to make progress. There are other statements.
Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to condemn the violence that occurred in Keno in Murang'a County last Sunday. Let me also take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to state that Kenya is a free and democratic country, and every person is entitled to go to any place and also give his opinion, canvass for votes, and therefore any attempts to curtail any Kenyan by going to any place, to me, is wrong and illegal. Mr. Speaker, sir, I strongly believe that we have a divergence of opinion, Mr. Speaker, sir. And therefore, if we were to stop people from coming to Murang'a, on what basis will I then have the moral duty or even the enablement to go to Nandi or Kisumu or Mombasa and seek votes? And therefore, even if I disagree with you, I will allow each and every person to come to Murang'a. Murang'a is an open place. Mr. Speaker,
order, senators.
Allow me
do you want to be informed by Senator Langat?
No, I'm not. I don't want to be informed.
He says he doesn't need to be informed. Order, Senator Langat. Order, Senator Langat.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be informed.
Yeah.
He doesn't want so. He says he has enough information. So.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. It is now on record, and I'm very happy, that no one blamed Kangata for that violence, because everyone knows Kangata is a peaceful man. Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is no evidence at all that the chaos that happened in Keno was planned by government. It was planned by people who do not care about the poor person, people who don't respect the right to life. But I want to vote for the government of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. It was not involved at all in the planning of that chaos. We welcome each and every person to come to Murang'a. Come and pursue your case in Murang'a County. We are a peaceful person. Indeed, all those persons who are fighting, none of them came from Murang'a. You can see even the injured, they did not come from Murang'a. They were ferried from Nairobi, others from Kiambu County in Thika Town, and therefore I want to vote for the people of Murang'a County. We are a peace-loving citizens of this republic. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm going to finalize this point by saying that I urge police to conduct impartial investigations. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, if you use violence to curtail your opponent, that does not assist you. In fact, the opposite happens. The opposite happened. The other person, political star, will start rising up. So from where I sit, and I'm going to give you an example, Mr. Speaker, sir. In the year 2007, there is one politician in Murang'a County who was almost winning until the day he planned chaos against his opponent. Then, when the opponent was injured, he was wise. He decided now to make it a major case, and indeed, political sympathy assisted that other person, and he won. So my point is, please, those of us who support a certain direction in the current political formation, please, we must ensure we don't give sympathy votes to those who we don't associate with it politically. And therefore, please, we be peaceful. Thank you.
Okay, since we have heard from the senator where the scene of crime was, I want to call for the next statement, Senator Faki, Mohammed Faki. Senator Faki is not here. What's your intervention, Senator Sakaja? Senator Cherargei, why are you standing up? You are not Faki.
Thank you.
Faki is deferred. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I had the statement, and I know the bulk of the contributions have been around a specific event, Mr. Speaker, I felt that we should not lose that opportunity to follow up on real human rights issues that we've, that we've raised in this House. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the committee, as it looks at this issue, we had brought a matter of killings in Nairobi, of extrajudicial killings. I know we had started it when Senator Cherargei was chairman of Justice. There's an officer called Ndiema who was charged with shooting a 13-year-old boy, Yasin Juma, in Huruma. Mr. Speaker, that case, I think the Justice Committee will do us justice if the game is being played by the prosecution and the police in court. Mr. Speaker, I think with your indulgence, you can ask that additional information is given. The other issues of politics we'll deal with politically.
Okay.
The committee won't sort our politics out. But on this one, we need responses on those specific cases that we'll list, and I will speak to the chair for further.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Senator Ali, what observation?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to. I've raised here an issue last week, the other week, regarding the abduction of a young man from South Sea. Up to now, I have no answer. I have no communication. If this government does not want to give us any information,
Chair, security.
let us be told.
Maybe that's not about the government, first of all.
Yeah, why?
It's the chair.
It's about the government because the chairman has
chair
said,
security.
The chairman has said he cannot get involved with that. And he told you as the speaker to deal with it, sir. And you called the CS and he has refused to appear.
Okay, maybe we'll discuss out of chamber. The next statement is Senator Cherargei. You just read, then we will. You have two statements, read them at the same time. No comment so that we are able to move. Those are the ones under 48(1). Huh?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know how it is ordered in the order paper, but I'll just read. Regarding request, TVET, request for statement regarding the state of affairs of technical and vocational education and training institutions, TVET, and the welfare of BOG employed trainers in the institutions. Mr. Speaker, can you protect me from the majority whip? I don't know why he's becoming reckless. Mr. Speaker, sir, can you protect me from the majority whip?
Let's consult in low tones.
Mr. Speaker, I think the majority whip, you need to take punitive measures against him. He's loitering around. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise past one to Standing Order 48(1) to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the state of affairs of technical and vocational education and training institutions across the country and issues affecting trainers employed by respective board of governors in the institutions. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the measures that have been put in place, if at all, to cushion the trainers across the country, particularly during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic, considering that they have not been paid salaries for the duration of the pandemic. Number 2, state the reasons why TVET institutions are not currently employing business trainers, and yet they are provided equally required services as technical trainers. Number 3, elaborate the measures that will be put in place to address the current deficit of trainers due to high enrollment in TVET institutions. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, sir, state the measures instituted to adhere to established recruitment guidelines to ensure that there is a transparency and fairness in recruitment processes of trainers in all TVET institutions. And finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, state the measures in place, if any, to ensure that there exists a uniform framework and terms of service for all TVET trainers across the country. Mr. Speaker, since you had given me the indulgence, I move to the second statement, the request for statement on the non-payment of teachers serving under school boards of management in Nandi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise past one to Standing Order 48(1) to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the non-payment of teachers serving under school boards of management in Nandi County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state why teachers serving under boards of management in schools in Nandi County have not yet been paid their salaries since March, despite several promises by the Ministry of Education. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, state the accurate position of the Ministry of Education concerning the availability of funds to pay the Board of Management teachers, and finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, explain why the ministry has failed to cushion the Board of Management teachers during this period of COVID-2019 pandemic, despite the great work they have been doing in our schools. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Okay, order members, I want, for the convenience of the House, I want to rearrange the order paper before we come back to the statements, and therefore I will direct that we go to order number 9.
Order number 9, the Community Health Services Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2020, second reading division.
The bell will be rung for 2 minutes.
It is in the sorry, I'll begin again. Nitoa hii. Yeah. Thank you very much, members of the 4th Estate. I can even hear my voice is better. The National Security Advisory Committee held a meeting today, the 7th of October 2020, to consider the current political activities in the country and their implications on national security. NSAC noted that the country is experiencing growing political tension that is creating division and pushing sections of politicians and their supporters against perceived opponents. This situation is increasingly polarizing the country along ethno-political lines and therefore undermining national cohesion, peace, and security, and derailing our transformative economic agenda. The unchecked utterances and political weaponization of public gathering continue to undermine the law and order within the country. This disregard of the law has triggered violent confrontations among different groups, thus threatening national security of the nation. In the recent past, the country has witnessed the following speeches and utterances that incite and cause hatred, resentment, and create tension within our social fabric. B, utterances that fuel ethnic or group violence. C, use of abusive, negative, and insulting language. D, publication in media of pictures which could lead to ethnic, religious, or racial discrimination. The foregoing has created a situation of fear, despondency, and political uncertainty. It is in this context that NSAC has met to discuss the situation in the country with a view to maintaining peace and security and promoting the rule of law. In its deliberations, NSAC also observed the following situations. A, that the country is only now recovering from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has led to tragic loss of life, severe economic contraction, disruption of our way of life, pain and suffering in families, and loss of livelihoods. B, some individuals are taking advantage of the vulnerabilities in our population occasioned by the socio-economic shocks of COVID-19. In pursuit of cheap publicity, these individuals, in attempt to further their selfish political agenda, are inciting the youth who are fearful of their future. They are attempting to radicalize the youth to the point where they have fought and in one tragic incident killed each other. Being fully seized of the foregoing and conscious of the freedoms and liberties enshrined in our Constitution and other laws of the Republic of Kenya, now therefore NSAC at its sitting today resolved to remind Kenyans of the existing legal obligations and sanctions and issued the following directives. 1, that all public meetings and public proceedings shall be held in strict compliance with the Sections 5 of the Public Order Act, Cap 56, Laws of Kenya. The convener or any person intending to hold a public meeting or a public procession shall A, notify the officer commanding station, OCS, that is OCS, of such intent at least 3 days, but not more than 14 days before the proposed date of the public meeting or procession. B, be present throughout the meeting or procession and shall assist the police in the maintenance of peace and order at the meeting or procession. Obey all orders given to him or her by the OCS or any police officer of or above the rank of inspector. At all times, bind themselves to be peaceful and non-violent, and shall keep to the designated places of public meetings or public processions. 2, that any person who so elects to attend or participate in a public meeting or a procession shall, pursuant to the law and in particular Section 5 of the Public Order Act, A, exercise a high degree of civic duty and responsibility, and not to be in possession of any weapon. At all times, B, at all times, bind themselves to the peaceful and non-violent, bid themselves to be peaceful and non-violent, and shall keep to the designated places of public meetings or public processions. C, report to the relevant authority incidences of hate speech, incitement to violence, ethnic contempt, or any other offense. D, respect the freedom of expression of other people. E, not abuse, exclude, demean, stereotype, or profile other people. F, not propagate insurgency and socioeconomic hostility among and between Kenyans. G, maintain strict observance of the law of the safety and well-being of everyone present. 3, that all persons who elect to address any public meeting and procession shall be bound by the legal penalties and obligations set out in Section 13 and Section 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, which provisions ban speeches, utterances, and messages that contain A, offensive, abusive, insulting, misleading, confusing, obscene, or profane language. B, inciting, threatening, or discriminatory language that may or is intended to expose an individual or group of individuals to violence, hatred, hostility, discrimination, or ridicule on the basis of ethnicity, tribe, race, color, religion, gender, disability, or otherwise. C, attacks on personal rights that trigger discrimination on the basis of their ethnic background, economic status, race, religion, or association. 4, that all media outlets shall be held responsible for all the content that they publish and or broadcast pursuant to the section 62 of the National Cohesion and Integration Act, as read together with the guidelines for monitoring hate speech in the electronic media issued by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. Accordingly, the media shall A, not publish words intended to incite feelings of contempt, hatred, hostility, violence, or discrimination against any person or group or community on the basis of ethnicity or race. B, desist from providing platform to hate mongers, inciters, and tribalists. C, practice responsible and conflict-sensitive reporting. D, endeavor to air programs that promote respect, national unity, and cohesion. 5, that all social media users shall be held individually liable for all content on their social media profile pursuant to the National Cohesion and Integration Act, as read together with the guidelines on prevention of dissemination of undesirable, bulk, and premium rate political messages and political social media content via electronic communication network. In that regard, every social media user shall ensure that A, all their content is written in a language that avoids a tone and words that constitute hate speech, ethnic contempt, and incitement to violence, harassment, abuse, defamation, or intimidation. B, before forwarding and or sharing any messages, authenticate and validate the source and truthfulness of their content so as to limit information that might spread rumors, mislead, or is not supported by any facts. C, administrators of social media platforms are duly bound to moderate and control undesirable content and discussions that have been brought to their attention on their platforms. In this regard, NSAC hereby directs the relevant security organs to enforce these directives without fear or favor to the offenders, regardless of their economic standing, ethnicity, religion, political association, or status. NSAC further urges all Kenyans to exercise restraint and to remain each other's keeper by strictly adhering to these directives in respect and honor to our shared duty as one people in order to promote peaceful coexistence and security in our beloved country. Dated and issued at the office the day of October 2020. Thank you.
Question, sir. But the office of the president has been accused of trying to.
Okay, order, senators, take your seats. Yeah. Okay. These are the results of the voting. Abstentions 0, nays 0, ayes 27. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for the delivery of community health services to promote access to primary health care services at the community level and to reduce health disparities between counties, to provide for the training and capacity building of the community health workforce and for connected purposes.
Okay, honorable senators, I want to rearrange the order paper again. So we'll do order number 15 and 16, then we'll go back to the other business.
Order number 15, Committee of the Whole. The Sectional Properties Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2019. Order number 16, Committee of the Whole. Consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2018.
Honorable Senators, order, honorable members. Kindly take your seats. Honorable Senators, can we have some order, please? We want to transact. Kindly let's have some order. Honorable Senators, we are in the Committee of the Whole, and we are considering order number 15, the Sectoral Properties Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2019.
I'll call out. Clauses 4 to 11.
I propose the question that clauses 4 to 11 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 4 to 11 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 12.
I propose the question that clause 12 be part of the bill. I propose the question that
Chair of Lands Committee has an amendment.
has an amendment. Yes. Yeah, Chair, Lands Committee, you have an amendment?
Yeah,
please
thank
go ahead.
you,
Go ahead.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I propose that clause 12 of the bill be amended.
What's your point of order, Senator?
Remind the chairman that we're in the committee of the all, and therefore you should refer to you as Madam Chair, not...
Thank you. That is why you are my friend, Senator Kanidi.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I propose that clause 12 of the bill be amended by deleting sub-clause 5 and substituting, therefore, the following new sub-clause. Before registering a proposed sectional plan of subdivision or consolidation, the registrar shall, upon endorsement, the surveyor amend the original sectional plan in the manner prescribed by the regulations. The committee shall introduce the above amendments during the... Okay, I have already proposed the amendment, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I propose the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 13 to 60.
I propose the question that clauses 13 to 60 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 13 to 60 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clauses 3 and 2, the title, and clause 1.
I propose the question that clauses 3 and 2, the title and clause 1, be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 3 and 2, the title and clause 1 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Madam Speaker, it looks like...
Can we get a confirmation from the whips that we can do a division after this?
It's not happening because it has not been called out.
Fine. If the numbers are not favorable, we will do that next time. We have released people. Okay, fine. Mover, please. The majority leader.
Then we will only end.
Honorable Chairperson, pursuant to Standing Order 148, I beg to move that the Committee of the Whole report progress on its consideration of the Sectional Properties Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2019, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. Is that what it is? Yeah.
I will put the question, which is that the Committee of the Whole do report progress on its consideration of the Sectional Properties Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2019, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. Will as many as are of the opinion say aye? Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Senators, we are now considering order number 16, the consideration of National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2018.
I'll call out. National Assembly amendment to clause 2.
I propose the question the National Assembly amendment to clause 2 of the bill be approved. Mover? Or where's the mover? Senator Pshiro?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'd like to confirm that the Committee of ICT has considered all the amendments that have been brought by the National Assembly. At its sitting held on 29th of June, the committee considered the amendments by the National Assembly to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2018, and noted that the amendments by the National Assembly to the bill did not change the objectives of the legislation and that they are not unconstitutional. The committee made a report to the House recommending that the Senate agrees to the amendments by the National Assembly to the bill and passes the bill pursuant to Article 112(2)(a) of the Constitution and Standing Order 159(3) and 4(a) of the Senate Standing Orders. So, Chairperson, I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to clause 2 of the bill be agreed to.
I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 2 of the bill be approved. Division at the end.
National Assembly amendment to clause 3.
I propose the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 3 of the bill be approved. Mover?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam
Senator,
Chair,
you don't need to go through the whole thing, just do the last bit of it.
Okay. So, Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to the clause 4 of the bill be agreed to.
We are on clause 3.
Clause
okay,
3. Okay. Chairperson, the National Assembly amendment clause 3 of the bill by deleting the expression I appearing in the introductory clause and in paragraph C that has a license from another county immediately after the words, and clause 3 of the bill sets out matters which will not be subject to the application of the Act. The committee is of the view that the deletion of the phrase is a clean-up amendment, so therefore we request that that's agreed to. Paragraph C, V1, is meant to address what is currently happening, where a moving vehicle employed for purpose of advertising is required to pay a fee to every county the vehicle passes through. That the vehicle passes through. This amendment will ensure that fees is paid once and not every county. Therefore, the committee would like that agreed to as well.
I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 3 of the bill be approved. Division at the end.
National Assembly amendment to clause 4.
I propose the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 4 of the bill be approved. Mover?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to clause 4 of the bill be agreed to.
That's okay.
Madam Chair.
That's okay. I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 4 of the bill be approved. Division at the end.
National Assembly amendment to clause 10.
I propose the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 10 of the bill be approved. Mover?
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to clause 10 of the bill be agreed to.
I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 10 of the bill be approved. Division at the end.
National Assembly amendment to clause 15.
I propose the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 15 of the bill be approved. Mover.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chairperson, I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to clause 15 of the bill be agreed to.
I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 15 of the bill be approved. Division at the end.
National Assembly amendment to clause 21.
I propose the question that National Assembly amendment to clause number 21 of the bill be approved. Mover.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I beg to move that the amendment by the National Assembly to clause 21 of the bill be agreed to.
I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to clause 21 of the bill be approved. Division at the end. Honorable Senators, we are not able to carry out the division today because of numbers, and it will be listed tomorrow. Members have been released according to my understanding. You know, before we announce, we have already verified from the whips, and the information that we have is that we don't have numbers. Mover, please, for progress report.
Yes, he's the mover of the bill.
You are the mover of the bill, Majority Leader. Yes.
Honorable Chairperson, pursuant to Standing Order number 148, I beg to move that the committee do report progress on its consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2018, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
I put the question which is that the committee do report progress on its consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bills number 19 of 2018, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Yeah. Chairperson, we are considering the Sectoral Properties Bill, National Assembly Bill 23 of 2019. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report progress that the Sectional Properties, the Committee of the Whole has considered the Sectional Properties Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2019, and seeks leave to sit again tomorrow.
Mover, the Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move. Sorry, Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report.
Madam Speaker, I'm giving you time to sit, to take your seat. I will propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I will put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next. Chairperson.
Madam Speaker, I beg to report progress on the Committee of the Whole. That the Committee of the Whole has considered the National Assembly amendments to the County Outdoor Advertising Control Bill, Senate Bill number 19 of 2018, and seeks leave to sit again tomorrow. Thank you.
The mover, Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on the said report.
Who is seconding the motion?
Yes, and Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on the same report, on the said report, and ask Honorable Farhia to second. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Honorable Senators, I will put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as are of the opinion say aye? Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Senators, you are aware that we interrupted our program, so we want to take this opportunity to go back to order number 7 for statements and allow Senator Cherargei, who has an important and urgent statement to make at this time. Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would, Madam Speaker, sorry. Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. And the statement on an issue of national concern, reschedule on reopening of schools. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 47.1, I rise to make a statement on the issue of general topic concern, namely the scheduled reopening of schools on Monday. The communication by the Ministry of Education on reopening of schools caught parents in the country by surprise yesterday. For the past few weeks, the Ministry of Education, led by Cabinet Secretary CS Professor George Makoha, has been releasing very inconsistent information on matters concerning education in the country with specific reference to the academic calendar. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, during his 12th Nation address on the COVID-19 pandemic situation in the country, made on 28 September 2020 informed the nation that the school reopening was yet to be considered. The President cautioned against the incessant calls for reopening of schools and stated that the safety of the school-going children was of utmost importance. It is barely a week since President Uhuru Kenyatta's statement, and the Ministry of Education has ordered that the schools be open from grade 4, class 8, and from 4 classes. And Madam Speaker, there was no clarity also on the issue of reopening of international schools across the country. And Madam Speaker, you have to note also that there are some parents, Madam Speaker, that they have already relocated to villages because of hard economic times that have been caused by very serious side effects of COVID pandemic 2019. We are all aware of the depressed state of economy that the country is in the COVID-19 pandemic. Many people lost their jobs and others relocated to different places as coping mechanism for the tough economic times. And therefore, Madam Speaker, it means they relocate with their children, and it means they will need to settle back at home or anywhere else, so that they need to transfer their children, and transition period will be affected. And Madam Speaker, you have seen even in media and other forums that private schools have been turned into poultry farming. Others have closed because of hard economic times. This means it will be very impossible for parents to settle and prepare their children to return to school within 3 days, Madam Speaker. 3 days is not easy because, Madam Speaker, you have to know that most of our children have eaten. They are now added weight. Others have misplaced their uniforms. We need to go and buy textbook, Madam Speaker, and you know it is very expensive. You need also to look for transport. Some of the parents have not been paid. Others were depending on manual jobs and casual jobs, and therefore they have not been paid. So, Madam Speaker, it is very important that, and also our children need psychosocial support, because some of them need to be encouraged. They need to be encouraged that they need to go back to school. They are also human beings like all of us, and they are afraid of the COVID-2019 pandemic. It will be very impossible for parents to settle and prepare their children to return to school within 3 days, since they are expected to pay school fees, provide shopping. And you know, Madam Speaker, the shopping is not very easy. The children of nowadays, you don't just shop few things. You must shop everything. And you know there is what we call bazaars list. Most bazaars might even release that they need sanitizers, they need masks, they need desks to be remade, and infrastructural development within. And Madam Speaker, it has to be noted that most schools have not received their capitation from March this year. And yet you are telling them that they need to put sanitizers. Most of them you have had today in the morning, Madam Speaker, when we had the Minister in charge of energy, that today most schools, their power has been disconnected because of non-payment. Even the Board of Management teachers have not been paid, Madam Speaker. Even the subordinate staff have not been paid. They have not resumed the job. So, Madam Speaker, the schools need a lot of painting. They need a clearance, and with the social distance, Madam Speaker, that is required as COVID-19 pandemic rules and regulation under Ministry of Health. Madam Speaker, another point is that the schools continue to be fumigated because most of them were isolation centers. How safe are our children when most of schools were being used as isolation centers? Have the Ministry of Health been able within 3 days to verify, to go to those places and be able? Madam Speaker, in the Rift Valley...
There is a point of order from Senator Faria. Senator Faria, is that information or order?
Madam Speaker, is it in order for Senator Cherargei to debate his own statement? I thought that debate should come when the committee submits its report and not now. Allow other senators to comment, not you.
Thank you. We were on transition, so I didn't realize he has finished reading the statement. Senator, are you still reading?
I'm still in my
You're still reading?
Yeah.
Finish the reading, so the comments will come from other members.
Madam Speaker, when you look at the standing order that I'm using for 7.1, this is a statement based on general concern. So I would advise my leader to hold her horses so that I can finish, then you can comment. So, Madam Speaker, I was saying it is part of my notes that I'm reading through that 3 days is not sufficient enough for the Ministry of Health to go and cross-check the fumigation process within our isolation centers, which happen to be schools of learning. And we are worried for our children going back to school. In the Rift Valley, and most parents, even in Western Kenya, have taken their children for circumcision. It is called tumda. And most of them, even in Western Kenya, they didn't do it in August, Madam Speaker. So most of them have gone for circumcision, especially in Rift Valley and part of Western Kenya. They didn't do it in August because the COVID pandemic was on the rise, and therefore these are expected to complete the rite of passage within 30 days, Madam Speaker. And you know the tumda process is very important in our culture. Therefore, it will be almost impossible to have children to report back to school on Monday. Madam Speaker, finally, considering the tough times the country is experiencing arising from the effects of the pandemic, most, if not all, our children are not prepared psychologically or are in fear to return to school. I therefore urge the Ministry of Education to provide Kiingereza kubwa ngumu hii, psychosocial, hii Kiingereza ngumu sana, Madam Speaker, support to school children and give a notice of 90 days for school reopening in order to enable parents and children to prepare very well, Madam Speaker. And therefore, we urge also the government to also suspend for the next 90 days so that our children can have adequate and parents can have adequate. And Madam Speaker, I saw some people making funny comments that when bars were being opened, places of social joints, and people are taking alcohol, why is it hard for them to allow schools to be reopened? I think they should understand it's different. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Senator. I don't see Senator Bogisho here. Senator Halake. Yes, I'll be coming.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I would like to thank my good friend, Senator of Nandi, for bringing this up. Yesterday, as I was watching the news, I was almost in tears as parents were really crying and saying that this was such an ambush on them. Madam Speaker, a lot of the parents have already been laid off from work. They still have to figure out food. They have to figure out lots of things. At least a bit of transition or a bit of leeway would have been better to say, to plan for January, but to say on Monday was really difficult for them. And it was grade 4, grade 8, and Form 4. And that notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I think the knee-jerk manner in which the ministry has been dealing with this issue is very disturbing and very concerning, given that this is a life-threatening situation, and this pandemic cannot be something that we're playing with the lives of our children, but also not really empathizing with the parents who at this moment hardly have anything even to put on the table for the children. So again, there doesn't seem to be guarantees that last night, again, I was quite interested in this matter. For me, back home, I've been supporting online radio learning for kids. But even now, everybody's saying that if we go back, what's going to happen to the systems that had been put in place for the children to access learning, be they through radio, be they through online learning and what have you, for which, by the way, most parents had paid for. So I think really this is very wasteful in terms of just not caring about what parents are going through, but also in terms of just the safety measures that the schools are supposed to take into consideration. I don't see how those protocols, nobody's telling the parents exactly what's going to happen as soon as the children walk through that door. Should the child contract the virus, do they have isolation rooms? Does the whole school become locked down? What happens is not very clear, and I think we're playing with the lives of our children, and really we need to be guaranteed that, or we need to be assured that really this is not going to be a case of putting our children in danger, and also not putting our parents also at really, can you imagine, Madam Speaker, if today you're the parent whose child stays at home because you don't have anything? That's indignity of the highest order, and very insensitive from the ministry not to at least even put in place systems where you can say all children should be given an opportunity, even if there are no school fees, or given support in terms of schools, books and other things. But no such thing has been said, and now it's back to school and it's up to the parents to figure everything out. Madam Speaker, I support this, and I hope that something will be done, and that this House can actually, or this statement can actually be given, even though it's under 47(1), can be processed further, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Inima Gertrude Musuruve. And let's be very brief, please, because we have...
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this statement by Senator Cheregai. But before I support the statement, kindly allow me to wish the teachers all over the world happy belated Teachers Day. I was looking for an opportunity to do that yesterday. I didn't get. But Honorable Speaker, it is. I thank you for giving me this opportunity because I'm a teacher by profession. All the years of my life, I've taught. I've taught 2 years in primary school after my A level. After my diploma, I've taught in various secondary schools, including a school for the disabled, and even after my master's and PhD, I have 14 years experience at the university, Honorable Speaker, teaching as a lecturer. So I am really, truly humble for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, as we talk about issues of school reopening, there are issues that concern me so much because as a teacher by profession, I know truly that we really have to do something in terms of preparedness. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, I'm in the Committee of Education, and where I sit as a Committee of Education, we have called governors to come and tell us about school preparedness with regard to opening. And it is very clear that in some counties, there are no toilets, there is no water provision, and in some counties also, there are also classrooms that are built of mud and also given cow dung finishing. So these are issues that need to be addressed, Honorable Speaker, because we are actually not being sincere. And I want to say, even on the floor of this House, I raised a statement, with the Secretariat, assistant clerks. They should find out where my statement is so that we talk and really deliberate on issues of COVID preparedness, where many counties are not prepared. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that it is unfair and unfortunate that the Ministry of Education is not bringing teachers on board, the legislative arm of the government on board when it comes to addressing issues of COVID and school preparedness. We have called the ministry many times to come before us. They are evasive, and when they come and when they hold conferences, Honorable Speaker, they hold conferences with people who are like-minded, people who are their allies. They actually disregard, the legislative arm of the wing. But we need to work together, so that we are able to help children in this country. So there's need for the Ministry of Education to work with us, because as you're speaking, Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Health came up clearly to say the preparedness they're doing. But the Ministry of Education has not come out clearly and to convince Kenyans that they're actually ready for school reopening. So we cannot take it for granted that the ministry says we are reopening in 2 days' time, in 2 weeks' time, and children go. They have to give us reason and justify our curiosity that they have actually prepared adequately for school reopening, Honorable Speaker. Because if they set money aside, what have they done for school reopening and all that? Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity, and I hope when this situation is brought to our Committee of Education where I sit, the CS himself will come before us. He should not send an assistant or anybody else. We want him to come before us so that we walk this journey together for the purpose of children of this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Milgo will come last. Senator Faria. And please, let's be very brief.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I thank Senator Cherargei for bringing this statement. Madam Speaker, for me, I have different view in terms of the school opening. I believe the more we need to follow the government medical guidelines. Professor Magoha, being a medic himself, I don't think he would open schools carelessly if he thought that the risk outweighed the benefit, Madam Speaker. And therefore, Madam Speaker, Professor, the way I know him, I have worked with him in NEC when he was the chair for CASNEM, and I know how he works, Madam Speaker. And I doubt that he would have opened. Madam Speaker, the more we are talking about people being economically, disabled, but the more we keep schools closed, the more we don't, I mean, it's 6 years since COVID started in this country, Madam Speaker. 6 months, sorry, after the COVID started in this country. Madam Speaker, that is long enough for people to know what is risky in the COVID and what is not. And Madam Speaker, the more we keep schools closed, the more the economy will be worse off, because you know there'll be money circulating around. There is the transport people who will be getting money as a result of people going to school. There will be other people sometimes who cook lunch for kids, and then the subordinate staff. Madam Speaker, we are very much aware that there are some private schools who have closed down because they could not pay school fees. Madam Speaker, I mean, they could not pay their own rent. Madam Speaker, the other issue is around, people saying school fees. Those who can't pay school fees are the ones who are in public schools. We know that primary public school is free in this country, courtesy of Jubilee government. Then, Madam Speaker, primary school is free. Madam Speaker, the other thing is secondary school is also, secondary school also is free in this country, courtesy of, again, Jubilee government, Madam Speaker. Therefore, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker,
order, senators.
Madam Speaker, the other issue is, Madam Speaker, there is a lot of child abuses that's happening as a result of school, especially girl child, Madam Speaker.
Senator Matsayo, there is a bell to ring from your desk. I have not seen it, but I give you a chance. Yes, Senator Matsayo.
Speaker, nimemsikia dadangu akisema ya kwamba elimu katika shule zetu za msingi ni bure. Mimi nashangaa kwa sababu sisi wengine pengine tunafanya makosa, tunalipa. Kama anaweza kufafanua ni skuli gani ama ni shule gani ambao watoto wetu wale ambao wameambiwa warudi katika vilasi vya kilasi cha 4 ama kilasi cha 5 ama kilasi cha 6 ni wapi, ili tupate kujua.
Asante sana. Point taken. Senator Faria.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am talking about the public primary and day secondary schools, Madam Speaker. I'm not talking about people's business, whose business is to do to serve the education sector where there are gaps. Those ones you have to pay, Senator. But the ones that are public schools, that is what I'm talking about. And then, Madam Speaker, the other arrangement that can be done is to allow the aged teachers or those who have pre-existing conditions to stay at home. But for me, our life, this is going to be the new normal until we find vaccine. And the more schools remain closed, Madam Speaker, the more the economic activities around schools will be shut down, Madam Speaker. Because how many teachers have gone back to their home counties because they can't pay rent, especially those who are serving, private schools. Madam Speaker, and there are many. Madam Speaker, parents can make a decision. If they can't afford the one that is paying, they can take their children to the public school. Or what they can do also, depend, because even private schools, we know they're at different levels. If you are at A grade school, you can take your children to depending on how you can afford. But as long as this economy is shut down, because the other issue is shut down and schools are not open, then the other economic activity will be impacted, and this will have much more harmful impact for the future of this country in terms of the economy, because money circulates among people. The teacher who is paid will pay the mama mboga to buy, vegetables, will pay the landlord rent. And as a result of that, that is how economy improves, Madam Speaker. We cannot be saying that schools should remain closed because of this pandemic. Unless vaccine is found, this pandemic will continue. Madam Speaker, allow me just to finish something. The other thing is that right now we are appearing the hot season. There are people who are saying it is going to, towards January is when we should open. That is when we are going close to the cold season, meaning the cold will even, create an opportunity for the COVID to infest itself. So, Madam Speaker, for me, I support the CS Magoha for opening the school, and I think let us start with this one and even fast-track the opening of school for the rest of the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, Senators, we are way past our statement time. And I still have the chair of the committee that I had promised to give. If only I knew Senator Wako Sitwila will take 1 minute, or you skip it. You skip it? 2 minutes. Okay, Senator. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 2 minutes. Can, in that statement which will be given by the ministry, can they take into account, or at least let us know, the state of preparedness between now, when the schools open 8, 4, and 4, when they open on Monday, the next intake, that period, maybe a period of a month or two, I don't know. But I would want to know what will happen during that period to ensure that the schools are really prepared for that other intake. I accept that the ministry had to make the hard decision, and they had made the hard decision. And in fact, teachers went to the schools about a week ago. So it will be 2 weeks before 12th. And during that period, they are supposed to have undertaken to see whether the infrastructure is right and other matters dealing with the COVID. But for example, in Busia, many schools do not have the necessary infrastructure even before COVID came. And yet COVID demands that there be social distance. And that social distance demands that there may be more classrooms. Will there be more when I talk about preparedness, will there be, between 12th of October and when the other intake takes place, will there be enough time for the extra infrastructure to be put in place? And talking about that, Madam Speaker, has consideration been given to the fact that maybe some good tents in some areas can be used as classrooms rather than cement and mortar being put up as they build the proper classrooms, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. 2 minutes for Senator Wetangula Moses, then I move to the chair.
Madam Speaker, the issue here is not opposing or supporting the Minister for Education. The issue is what the President raised at the COVID conference, that let's deal with the how, then the when will follow. As we speak here, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education has not told the country to any level of satisfaction as to what they have done to protect children who are going to school. We should not reduce this to opposing or supporting Magoha. We want children in school, but we want to know that they will be safe. Are we going to have a nurse stationed in every school in case of any problem? Are we going to have water provided in school for sanitation for the children? Are we going to have protection for the teachers? Are we going to test regularly the teachers so that they do not infect the children and vice versa? These are the questions, Madam Speaker. And as we speak today, Minister Magoha and his ministry have not given the public any hint whatsoever as to the level of preparedness of the schools. And if he's saying, Madam Speaker, that he's calling exam classes, and they will finish exams by January and leave school, on what basis will the remaining classes transition to the next class? This also we need to be told, so that we don't have a situation where schools are being run in a manner that is inconsistent with even public policy. We know Corona may be here much longer than we expect, and life must normalize. Tanzania is going on, but we want to know that the children who are going to school, take a county like Trans Nzoia, which is your neighbor and my neighbor, Madam Speaker. There is a resurgence of Corona in Trans Nzoia. Has he paid attention to a county like that to see that in fact extra care is being taken to ensure that children who will go to school will be safe? So let not Senator Faria reduce Cherargei's statement to a simplistic approach that you support or you oppose. That is not the question. Are we ready? And if we are ready, how?
Thank you, Senator. Senator Nyambuga, were you on? Okay, sorry. I saw your name much earlier. 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Just to add on to what my colleagues have already raised, I don't think the idea here is to oppose or to support, but the main idea, for example, in some parts of this country, there was a lot of rainfall and floods. So there are so many classrooms which were submerged. Up to now, in some parts in Kisumu County, I saw in Baringo and many other parts. So it is a matter of preparedness and what is it that has been done. I know that most parents would want to have schools open. And if all the bars are open and I see people going for rallies, the way they are going for rallies, I believe that is not our fear, because it's like Kenyans believe that COVID is not there. And I don't know where they got the idea from. So if Kenyans don't fear and they mix freely, it means they can easily infect their children. So by allowing students to go back to school, we are not adding more harm to our children. But it's the preparedness and the schools which were destroyed. What is it that the ministry has done? And the report, we've never received any report. In Kisumu County, the schools are still submerged. I don't know where these children are going to go to school. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. I know Senator Cherargei used 47.1, but I'll use my discretion to refer it to the Committee of Education, whose chair I want to give 2 minutes, because it's coming back to your docket now. Senator Milko Alice Chepkorir.
Okay, can I have the mic? Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise not to support or maybe oppose to a large extent Senator Cherargei's statement, but I want to start by saying that despite the many challenges that have been in the Ministry of Education, I think CS Makoha maybe has to style up in order to actually maintain consistency in terms of maybe pronouncement of certain issues. Madam Speaker, I want to declare here that education is an important sector that can never be overemphasized, particularly in terms of providing skills and talents that actually plays an important role in spurring economy in our country. Madam Speaker, let me say here that already there is a directive given by the CS Ministry of Education, and that directive is of course a government directive. And I want to say that all this time during COVID-19 cases, there has been a task force that has been speaking to issues education. Madam Speaker, you'll realize that while our children have been at home, despite the fact that parents are complaining that our kids are actually overgrown, they need more clothes, they need maybe shoes, and name them, we did realize that those children that have stayed at home for an abnormally long time have been affected by issues of drugs and substance abuse. We have seen many of our youth even being misused even in the cases. Maybe we would have a closer look at some of the youths that have been hit during political rallies. They could be school-going kids. Many of our girls, Madam Speaker, are already mothers. And in any case, it is already posing a challenge to our country in terms of even placing them and ensuring that their lives, their future lives are actually maintained in terms of placing them in the right schools so that they can continue with their education. Madam Speaker, as the country stands right now, COVID-19 has already flattened, and that is why the President, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta was able to open the economy in this country. Earlier on, of course, we used to have faced, but then recently he went ahead and opened the country to a very large extent. And in the same way, Madam Speaker, there has been a task force that has been going on to ensure that they speak to issues education, and this task force are the ones that had been stopping opening schools. Earlier on, you realized that this country was called upon to open schools in June. Later on, many stakeholders were calling upon our country to open schools in September. We as a committee had actually recommended to the Ministry of Education to do phased reopening beginning September. But Madam Speaker, I think the Ministry of Education is taking up what we actually recommended earlier on, and because of the fact that they have actually simply taken grade 4, they have taken standard 8, and Form 4. This will go a long way to actually serve as, in this case, an experiment, like it's a pilot to show whether our country is ready to bring on board all the students, Madam Speaker. I want to say, looking at what the President was doing even recently, some 620,000 tests were prepared to be distributed to schools that were hard hit, or rather, that were very congested. And one important issue is that these same tests are actually made in the various counties, which is also providing employment for our youth. And these tests will be distributed, Madam Speaker, to 15, just allow me one more minute, to 15 very native schools, Madam Speaker. In addition to that one, when we engaged the CS some over 1 week ago, we were promised that there is already over 26,000 masks prepared to be used in schools. And I want to say that the protocols that were set out, that the CS and the PS and the entire technical team from the Ministry of Education has been going around to ascertain and look at the preparedness. And according to us, I think what the fact that we have done phase reopening is actually very important. We as a committee are recommending the following, Madam Speaker, that in future we might have even other challenges like COVID-19. And we are recommending that in future we have what we call blended learning, so that we have online learning, virtual, and maybe physical. And as it is right now, even online, that my colleagues are saying it was very important, many kids were being marginalized. But we are saying, we encourage the ministry concerned to ensure that there is a network in the entire country, that electricity is actually spread right across the country, and gadgets that are supposed to be used, that was started under the 4 pillars. I mean, earlier on, in 2013, that our current president started should continue, Madam Speaker, so that come the future, in case we have any other challenge, our kids are ready to go on. Number 2 issue that we recommended is that Parliament is the one that actually prepares budget. And normally they just give very little funding, Madam Speaker, and we recommend that they add. Like now, this country required 12,000 teachers, but then the TSC, Teacher Service Commission, is only able to employ 5,000 because they are given a budget of 2.5 million only. And then thirdly, we recommend that the Ministry of Water and Sanitation should go out fully and ensure that there is water, that there are tanks in schools, and ensure that there is water right across the country, because reopening schools is not only going to affect the Ministry of Education itself, but then we want we want to have this being a multi-sectoral issue, so that we have everybody coming on board to ensure our kids are safe. Madam Speaker, we also encourage that issues of tests, issues of masks should continue to be prepared in the counties, so that they are distributed right across there.
Yeah,
and finally,
we are are waiting for your
And
report.
finally, just one last point, Madam Speaker. We are calling upon the Ministry of Education. This is the recommendation that we are recommending as a committee, that to ensure there are more day schools in this country. Day schools are very important, Madam Speaker. They are even cheaper to run. And I want to say our country provides free tuition fees, and therefore parents have got no excuse. What their parents are supposed to provide is food for their kids and uniform, and so there is free tuition. And last but not the least, the Ministry of Education to increase capitation to our schools. Therefore, I support the Ministry of Education in terms of phased reopening, and that is also a recommendation from Education Committee, Madam Speaker. Therefore, I'm not supporting that statement or opposing, but then we have various recommendations. We shall continue to engage as a committee to ensure that the right protocols are followed, to ensure that our children are safe. Otherwise, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Senator Chair. You are going to have this. You have to go and digest what has been given through this statement and what members have said. But you might benefit from 1 minute to Mazayo. His name was disappearing and reappearing, so I missed him twice.
Asante, shukran Bispika. Bispika, sijui kwa nini katika hii kompyuta yetu jina langu linatokea alafu linazimwa ama linaondoka kwenye mtandao, lakini hayo ni majaliwa yale wenye teknolojia ya kompyuta. Bispika, kwanza kitu cha muhimu ni kwamba jambo kama hili la elimu, namshukuru sana huyu ndugu yangu seneta wa Nandi, kwa sababu yeye japokuwa umri wake ni kidogo, lakini ni seneta mshupavu, ni seneta kijana ambaye amekikimu kabisa, na matamshi ama maneno anayosema hapa zote huwa ni jambo la kumsifu. Lakini hususan jambo la elimu ni muhimu sana. Kwanza lazima tujiulize maswali. Rais mwenyewe aliuliza Wakenya na akawa anaongea na Wakenya na akawaambia, Bispika, hapa Bimradi namuona ameketi mbele yangu kama mimi nikiwa naongea na wewe na yeye anaongea, akili yangu kidogo inatafshika. Kwa hiyo kama Miradi anaweza kuniondokea ingekuwa vizuri, maana yake ana mwendo mzuri.
Senator Manga,
na umbo lake liko hivyo hivyo.
You don't stand in between the speaker and the person speaking.
Namuona kiongozi wangu James Orengo anatabasamu kwa hali ya juu sana kwa sababu alikuwa karibu na yeye na alikuwa hamwangalii, alikuwa anaongea na Petronina hapa. Haya, kwa hiyo Bispika, kitu ni kwamba tunasema ikiwa rais mwenyewe wiki iliyokwisha alituambia tuweze kutafakari sisi kama Wakenya, na iko tarehe mwenyewe atakuja atatuambia ni lini atafungua hizi skuli. Jambo la kushangaza ni kwamba hata siku 7 hazijapita tokea rais aongee msemo huo. Tunamuona Waziri Magoha ametangaza kwamba watoto wa skuli warudi. Jambo la kusikitisha kwa sababu hivi sasa rais mwenyewe hajasema kwamba ugonjwa huu wa coronavirus umeisha, huu wa COVID, kwamba umeisha katika Kenya, hakuna tena. Na siku 7 tu baada ya kuongea, hata hazijamalizika, waziri wake anasema watoto waende skuli. Hatuwezi kucheza karata na maisha ya watoto wetu. Hii ni very serious, Speaker. Katika Kenya hivi sasa tutaanza kuona makaburi ya watoto wadogo yakitapakaa kila mahali katika Kenya. Na itakuwa jambo la aibu kuona ametoa amri kama hii, watoto wetu warudi skuli, na hatimaye sasa tuanze kuzika vifaranga. Hili ni jambo la kutafakari na la kufikiria. Jambo la pili, yeye akisema namna hiyo kwamba ameregesha, wakati huu tumempatia tokea tuanze mwezi wa 3 mpaka sasa tumefika mwezi wa 10. Je, tujiulize ni matayarisho gani Wizara ya Elimu imefanya kuhusikana na hawa watoto ambao wamesema warudi skuli, sijui class cha 5, sijui class cha 8, warudi skuli kwa sababu wao watatarajiwa kufanya mitihani mwezi wa 3 mwaka ujao. Mr. Speaker, kutarajia kufanya mtihani ni kama utafika na ugonjwa ukiwa umekupata. Je, tunaambiwa wazi kabisa ya kwamba hawa watoto wadogo wakienda kucheza hawaangaliani vile wanacheza, wanakumbatiana, wanacheza mpira, wanaongea, hawana mambo ya ile tunaita social distancing. Ni madawati gani yametengenezwa katika haya maskuli ambao watoto wetu watarudi na wapate madawati ya kisawasawa waweze kukaa na kuwe na kuna social distance ya watoto wetu? Ni elimu gani serikali imeweza kuwafanyia hawa watoto wetu kuona ya kwamba mara tu wakirudi skuli, Mr. Speaker, wameweza kuzingatia mambo ya kuweza kujitenganisha na kuweza kusoma wakiwa ndani ya klasi?
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, kama ungenipatia dakika moja kumaliza.
Time.
Aya, kama ni amri yako Mr. Speaker, unajua mimi siwezi kupinga, lakini nilikuwa na mengi ya kuambia Wakenya. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator Matsayo. The report is going to come back. I think it's a very urgent one, and we are giving them only 14 days. 14 days, then they should be back here. Honorable Senators, we are way past statement time, so we defer the balance of the statements to tomorrow, 2:30 on Thursday, October the 8th. Next order.
Order number 8, the Geologist Bill, Senate Bill number 17 of 2020. An Act of Parliament to provide for the training, registration and licensing of geologists, the regulation and development of the practice of geology, and for connected purposes.
Honorable Senators, order number 9 has been dispensed. So next order is order number 10. I would like to inform Senators that following consultations with the leadership, we have deferred that motion to tomorrow, the 8th October 2020. Order paper. Next order.
Order number 11. Motion, adoption of the report of the Standing Committee of Health on its inquiry into the death of a patient at the MP Shah Hospital due to negligence.
Chairperson, Standing Committee of Health.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to move the motion that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Health on the death of a patient at the MP Shah Hospital owing to negligence. Madam Speaker, the House may recall that this statement was referred to the Standing Committee on Health, and we were tasked with to investigate the whether, contrary to Article 43, 1A and of the Constitution and Section 7 of the Health Act, whether MP Shah Hospital caused the untimely death of the late Mrs. Virginia Asaf by putting commercial interests before her well-being. And to this end, we as a committee held several meetings with members of the family of the deceased, officials from the Ministry of Health, KMPDU officials, NHIF, and basically we just wanted to clarify the circumstances that led to the death of the patient, as well as understand the broader legal policy and regulatory and structural factors that may have contributed to the unfortunate and untimely death. Madam Speaker, just in quick summary, the committee found that MP Shah Hospital failed to provide definitive emergency treatment to the late Mrs. Virginia Asaf, and failed to provide it in an adequate manner, adequate and timely manner, that is the percutaneous coronary intervention, angiogram, and also MP Shah Hospital. We recommended that MP Shah Hospital be investigated by KMPDC on this issue of failing to give emergency treatment to this patient. Madam Speaker, on the issue of penalty, the committee recommended that MP Shah, having failed to give emergency treatment and ultimately causing the death of the patient, that MP Shah should be charged 3 million shillings. That is in accordance to Section 7.3 of the Health Act 2017 and Section 26E of the Medical Practitioner and Dentist Act for negligently failing to conduct a life-saving percutaneous coronary intervention, that is CPI angiogram, in a timely manner as per recommended clinical practice and guideline. So this matter was tabled before this House and it was debated extensively. Yeah? And I am kindly asking the House to adopt this this motion, and I will ask Senator Shionga to second. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Shionga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to second this report statement with my fellow senator. Madam Speaker, I totally agree with what Senator Mbito, who is the chair of Health Committee, has stated. And indeed, it is very unfortunate that the untimely death of Virginia came as a result of negligence in the facility. And this is not the first time we are seeing the type of negligence that is happening to our fellow Kenyans. Madam Speaker, death that is caused by negligence is more hurting than death that just comes by an accident. From the report, much has been discussed in this floor of the House, and what I just want is to say is that my condolences to the family of Virginia, and even to our fellow Senator Muko, who brought this particular report on the floor of the House. These particular deaths occasioned by staff of MP Shah on the 26th May 2020. By then I was still in the ministry, in the Health Committee, and when we discussed this, the real deaths was to be avoided. However, it happened the way it happened, and I want just to say that I support fully the recommendations that have been laid there, and even the fine that the committee has suggested that this particular facility needs to pay. Madam Speaker, it is indeed in the hearts of Kenyans that when we go to a hospital, be it a private hospital or a public hospital, we are seeking or we are looking for treatment. And nobody goes to our facility to look for deaths. It only happens when God has decided. But through negligence, we say a big no to Kenyans who are making others lose life through this. And Madam Speaker, I just want to say I support the report, and as it's going to be implemented, let the fine be more even in future. Let us have a more reasonable fine so that these facilities that are working towards doing negligence in the facilities be prosecuted so that Kenyans can actually access facilities that they have confidence in. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mwaura Isaac.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nafikiri nasimama kuunga ripoti hii na mapendekezo ambayo ipo kwenye ripoti hii, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo ambalo linashangaza.
Order, Senator. Order, members. I now would like to propose the motion that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Health on its inquiry into the death of a patient at the MP Shah Hospital, allegedly due to negligence, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 24th September 2020. Senator Mwaura.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninasimama kuunga mkono ripoti hii kwa sababu tumeona kwamba watabibu mara nyingi wanazembea katika kazi zao, na inakuwa kwamba siku hizi mambo ya afya wanaangazia zaidi sana mambo ya fulusi, na wakati mwingine inawezekana kwamba sio watu wote ambao wana bima za afya ama ziwe bado hakujapatianwa idhini za kuweza kutumiwa kulingana na vile ambavyo pengine mambo yanazokuwa wakati ule ambapo mtu amegonjeka. Na hili swala halijawaadhiri tu wananchi wa kawaida, hata hapa katika bungeni tumeona viongozi wakiwa pengine ziara za nchi za kigeni wakikosa kupata huduma mwafaka kwa sababu hawawezi kugharimia yale matibabu kwa kisingizio kwamba idhini hazijapatikana. Na juzi, Mheshimiwa Spika, kulikuwa pia na kesi ambapo tulimuona mama mmoja aliyejifungua katika hospitali ya Pumwani, na wauguzi walipoulizwa ikawa akasema kwamba kazi yao sio kazi ya bure, sio kazi tu ya sulubu, lakini lazima wao pia wapatiwe haki zao. Na nafikiri ukiangalia katiba ipo wazi kwamba matibabu ya dharura lazima yawe yakiangaziwa, ndiposa baada ya hapo tunaweza kuangazia fedha ambazo zinahusika. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala hili tu sio tu kuhusu Mama Virginia, lakini pia ni kuhusu gharama kubwa ya hospitali ambazo ni za kibinafsi kama vile MP Shah. Isiwe tu kwa sababu ya hawa, lakini wakati mwingine pia hata wananchi wa kawaida wanapewa madawa ambayo wanafaa kununua ambayo haambatani na magonjwa ambayo wanasemekana wako nayo. Kwa hiyo ni swala zima la ubora wa afya katika nchi hii, na tathmini ya kwamba sasa hivi afya inapatikana tu kwa wale ambao wana hela. Maskini hana chake, na hatujui kama leo unaweza kuwa una fedha na kesho hauna. Kwa hiyo niseme kwamba Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangazia, na mwenyekiti amesema na pia mwanakamati Mheshimiwa Seneta Shionga ameweza kusisitizia, tusiwe tu kazi yetu tu ni kuwa na hii ripoti alafu haya mapendekezo yasikue kwamba yana mashiko yoyote. Nafikiri tunafaa kuangalia suala zima la afya, na mtizamo huu pia unaangazia zaidi, kwa sababu kama tungelikuwa na hospitali za umma ambazo zinafanya kazi, basi hakungekuwa na biashara kubwa ambayo inaendelezwa na hospitali kama haya ya MP Shah. Niseme kwamba ni kweli yameweza kukidhi ile akidi ambayo ambayo inatokana na kutokuwa na huduma bora katika hospitali ya umma, lakini hata ukiangazia mradi ule wa NHIF bado utakuta kwamba hospitali hizi za kibinafsi ndizo zinazo faidi. Kwa hivyo nafikiri napigia upato ripoti hii, na ningemwomba Mheshimiwa Mwenyekiti kwamba hii ripoti isiwe tu kama zile zingine, iwe ni kielelezo kwamba mwananchi yoyote ana haki ya kupata matibabu yanayofaa, alafu tutakuja kuzungumza mambo ya fedha baadaye, ndiposa tusipoteze. Nafikiri kuna maafa mengi ambayo yametokana. Huyu ni mmoja wa Wakenya ambaye angalimfikia Mheshimiwa Seneta Beth Mugo. Ni wangapi ambao wanakufa, wananyanyapaliwa, wananyanyaswa kutokana na kutokuwa kwamba hawezi na hawana sauti, hawafikii wale ambao ni wenzetu ambao katika bunge hili la Senate. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga nasema kwamba hii ripoti sisitiziwe iwe ni kielelezo kwa nchi hii yetu kwa ujumla. Asante.
Thank you. Senator Haji Faria Ali, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, what happened in Aga Khan Hospital is not acceptable, Madam Speaker. MP Shah is not acceptable, Madam Speaker. One of the issues now, medical field, especially in the private sector, has moved from, you are a doctor and you have an obligation and you sought to protect life. And then the same people in the same spirit are also allowing somebody to die because they are not able to pay because of the time. By the time somebody comes into a hospital, Madam Speaker, at 3 a.m., first of all, that person is in desperate need of your attention. For them to be kept in hospital until deposit is paid was, Madam Speaker, unheard of, and it's very unfair, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, even this COVID now has become a business. Sometimes people are kept in isolation places by hospitals for longer than necessary because of, financial gains. And because of also the other reason is because of improvement of health as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, people hygiene has really improved and the people who are getting sick have become less. So if you go to hospital for a reason, now hospitals keep you for a very long time. I personally had an experience like that some 2 weeks ago, and Madam Speaker, it's not pleasant because the hospitals need to be very vigilant in terms of how they do their business. Yes, it is business, and the business of business is business as by Adam Smith. But let us have the humane heart as we apply our business ideals, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Halaka Abshiro. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report from the Health Committee. Madam Speaker, this is a really sad situation, but it is sad not for that particular person, but the fact that this is so rampant everywhere, where our hospitals have become really so callous, they cannot even look at anybody, and people are really, really, really suffering in this country. We've seen at Kenyatta Hospital recently when the health workers were on strike, people are having to literally go and treat their own people. And how many of those have died, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, in my own county of Isiolo, so many people have had their arms and limbs amputated because of negligence, Madam Speaker. People are left with injuries and with other forms of illnesses without a care. Sometimes I wonder, what is the oath that our doctors have taken? And are these hospitals owned by doctors or just owned by business people, Madam Speaker? We need to have some sort of legislation where if you own a hospital, you must at least have taken an oath as a doctor or something, because we're seeing such a disconnect between the humanity that is health and the businesses that is our hospitals. Madam Speaker, maybe what this House needs to do for longer term sustainable solution to some of these things is to come up with some sort of legislation where that there's certain basic minimum service that must be given to anybody who shows up at any hospital, regardless of the money they'll give. Or even as you go to this, or if somebody is to come up with a hospital, say as a private sector investor, there must be certain content of a doctor who has at least gone through the training and taken the oath, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is really unacceptable in this day and age, especially during this COVID time, where you're finding that people are being turned away and being told to go home with such life-threatening diseases, and when they die, nothing happens. There's never been a consequence for medical negligence. There's never been a consequence for people mishandling the citizens. And what is happening is that this particular person that was neglected in this manner is not really even someone that a poor person or somebody at the bottom of the social strata. It is somebody that, like you and I, can you imagine then what the common mwananchi goes through on a daily basis that doesn't even get highlighted in this House, Madam Speaker. And for that reason, perhaps this House should really look into this and come up with certain legislative or legal framework that will protect the poor, Madam Speaker. I support and I submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gachuang. Moses Otieno.
Madam Speaker, I rise to support the motion by the Health Committee. The question is, why would someone go to MP and not to a public hospital? It is obviously because our public health sector has collapsed. Many of us in our counties, our medical workers could be on strike for an entire month without noticing. Madam Speaker, not too long ago, the health workers in my county were on strike for an entire month, and there was no outrage. In fact, when I sought to intervene in the matter, there are those who thought I was being a busybody. We have run down our public health sector to a level where people do not care and people do not recognize it. This person could have gone to a public health facility if our priorities were right as a country. There are certain social public goods and services, Madam Speaker, that we cannot play with. Privatization has gone too far. When it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, when it comes to provision of security, when it comes to provision of food, these are things that responsible governments are supposed to guarantee and provide to their citizens. Unfortunately, because of warped up policies in this country, these sectors have largely become privatized. Many of us are just one medical bill away from poverty. Madam Speaker, even those who call themselves the middle class, if they did not have medical insurance, if they did not have this thing called NHIF, one medical bill, one medical invoice will render them into poverty that will last not just for one generation, but for more than one generation. Because when you're so poor that you can't take your children to school, because you've used all the money to pay medical fees, your children are also put in the same penury and vicious cycle of poverty. Madam Speaker, we need to rethink the private health sector in this country. They need to be better regulated. And Madam Speaker, that takes me to the second point. Between the role of regulators and the role of overseers, Parliament is an oversight institution. We have established regulatory agencies and bodies by law. And Madam Speaker, they report to Parliament. I have heard the chair of the Health Committee make a recommendation that this particular hospital ought to be fined a certain amount. Madam Speaker, when I look at the powers of Parliament to impose a fine on a private citizen or a public citizen, that power seems only to be found in the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, where you are going to find somebody for contempt of Parliament, for defiance of summons. I do not know whether this is becoming legislative overreach, because when we recommend that MP Share Hospital be fined a certain amount of money, are we now taking the role of regulator who is supposed to do it? And I hope that this motion that we are discussing is crafted in such a way that it is not the Senate that is imposing the fine, but the regulatory agency that is imposing the fine. Finally, Madam Speaker, this is more of an in-house issue, but I think we need to reorganize our reports fairly well. Many of us have struggled to get a copy of this report. It has far-reaching implications, not just for MP Share Hospital, but it has implications that would guide the relationship between Parliament and other private health service providers. If you would have had a much detailed consideration of that report, perhaps you would have made much more informed decisions. But Madam Speaker, I support and I want to congratulate the Health Committee that has gone out of its way under very hostile circumstances. They were recently talking to the county government of Homa Bay to find out why health workers are not being paid in Homa Bay, while in other counties, health workers are being paid. I want to thank the chair and keep up the good work. And I do believe that the same passion that you had applied in the other assignment also went into this report on MP Share. Madam Speaker, to the family that is suffering, and to the family that has become the subject of our conversation today, let them know that the Senate cares, and the Senate will do everything to ensure that they are indemnified. We cannot recover the losses, particularly human losses that have been suffered, but this is a Senate that is sympathetic and empathetic, and I do hope that this will not be the end of the matter. We will hold their hands as they pursue further remedies from the regulatory bodies and from the judicial system. I support, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Matsayo Stewart. 2 minutes.
Shukran, Bi Speaker. Bi Speaker, pia mimi nataka kuunga mkono ripoti hii ya kamati yetu ya afya. Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha, ni jambo la aibu, ni jambo ambalo si jema katika Wakenya, hasa tukizingatia ya kwamba ni mama ndio aliweza kupoteza maisha yake. Ikiwa sheria ya kwanza inayokuwa katika mahospitali na madaktari wakati wanapokimu na kuweza kuvishwa mataji ya kuitwa madaktari, kitu cha kwanza, sheria ya kwanza ni kwamba utaokoa maisha. Okoa maisha. Sasa ikiwa hiyo ndio nia ya kuwa na hospitali, na sababu ikapewa license ya kuweza kufanya vitu kama hivyo, ni jambo la aibu kuona kwamba umepewa amri ya kutibu binadamu na alafu umeweka pesa mbele hadi yule mgonjwa aliyekuja pale kupata matibabu amekaa kwa muda mrefu, na wewe unamwangalia kadri wakati unavyokwenda, hatimaye maisha yake yanakatika. Ni jambo la kusikitisha, ni jambo la kwamba hiyo hospitali imekiuka ile sheria inayokuambia ni lazima uokoe maisha, ikiwa namba ya kwanza. Spika, naangalia mwaka huu wa 220 katika Kenya. Ni mwaka ambao mwaka wa 2020. Asante kwa kunikosoa seneta wa Mombasa, ndugu yangu Mwinyi Haji. Je, sisi tujiulize maswali kama Wakenya. Ni haki sisi kuweza kuweka pesa mbele, Spika? Hata ikiwa kweli hospitali zile ambazo zinaitwa za watu binafsi, za private, ama ni hospitali za wananchi wa kawaida kama public hospitals, tunauliza tu ya kwamba, je, sisi kama Wakenya, wewe ni tajiri ama ni maskini, tuko na ule tunauita utu wa kwamba tunaweza kuangalia Mkenya, iwe hospitali ya gali, iwe hospitali ya rahisi, iwe Kenyatta National Hospital, iwe Coast General, iwe Kilifi District Hospital ama Kilifi County Hospital, kumwangalia mtu ameumwa na nyoka na ameletwa pale na hana pesa, sumu inaendelea kupanda, na unaendelea kumwangalia mtu anageuka rangi, hatimaye anapoteza maisha. Spika, hilo ni jambo la muhimu sana, na mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba ile ripoti imeandikwa na imeletwa hapa mbele ni ripoti ambayo ni lazima tuizingatie sana. Jambo la mwisho, Spika, tunaona ya kwamba uzito zaidi unakuja wakati wa malipo ya kulipa madaktari, ya kulipa manurses, ya kulipa watu wa kusafisha mwili ama kuangalia mochari zetu katika hizi mahospitali haya public. Pia watu wa mkono wanaofanya vile wanakosa vifaa. Kama juzi tumeona hata nurses wetu wanakwenda kwa barabara wanasema tupatieni vifaa, wakati ni mchafu sana. Huu ni wakati wa COVID. Nguo za kujitetea, hata kama unasafisha hospitali, unasafisha mtu amekuwa mgonjwa, mahali ambapo pana ugonjwa, ni lazima uwe na vifaa ambavyo utajikinga katika ile hali ya ule ugonjwa unaotapakaa. Spika, tunaona ya kwamba serikali yenyewe ingekaa chini na ikatafakari zaidi, kama kuna wizara ama kama kuna watu ambao wanatakana kuangaliwa kihali na mali, ni watu wanaofanya kazi ndani ya hospitali. Kitu cha kwanza kwamba wao wanaangalia maisha ya Wakenya, na ni jukumu la serikali kuona ya kwamba hakutakuwa na mgomo katika ile sekta ya afya katika Kenya. Hususan ukiangalia mtu kama yule anaitwa sijui Panyako, ni mtu anateta sana kulinganishana na malipo duni ya manases. Hiyo ni ukweli kabisa, Spika. Na hili ni jambo la kusikitisha katika Kenya, kuona ya kwamba madaktari unaweza kuwapatia pesa za kutosha kidogo, manases ukawakosea kuwapatia pesa, na hadi hawa watu wawili wanafanya kazi pamoja. Hata yule anayefagia, yule anayesafisha wodi, yule anayesafisha chumba kile kinachoketi cha watu wanaogeuza damu ama damu imemwagika chini, kuna wale watu wanafanya mnayo. Kwa hiyo tunasema ya kwamba vifaa vya kujikinga ni lazima vipelekwe na vione ya kwamba wale wanaofanya kazi katika zile sehemu za kuangalia afya za Wakenya zimezingatiwa vilivyo. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Senator Enima Gertrude, 2 minutes, please.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me an opportunity to support this statement. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that when doctors are graduating, even clinical officers, they actually take the Hippocratic oath, meaning that they will be in service and they'll take the patient's life first before anything else. So I want to condemn, Honorable Speaker, the act that happened at MP Shah. It is unfortunate that a woman, lost her life, a mother lost her life. It is very painful, and this is something that ought to have been arrested. And I also want to say that, Honorable Speaker, that it happens in many parts of our hospitals, even the incident that happened in Pumwani of a mother delivering on the streets. But thank God that, God came for protection and the woman did not die, because both of them, the woman and the infant, would have died. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, I want to give my experience as a cancer survivor. When I went to India in 2013 and I was diagnosed of cancer, I remember very well that it was a very desperate situation. I had to sell a lot that I had, even my family, property. I had conversed with my children, and they decided, go ahead and sell whatever plots you have and everything, as long as you are alive. So I went to India for limb-saving surgery, and I thank God I still have my, left limb, and I'm sure I'll be buried with it. And that is what took me to India. And it was unfortunate that when I was pleading also, in India, that I had no money and all that, I was sold whatever I had. I was told that everyone who comes here has sold a house, or plot, or everything. So it is very normal. So I want to say that sometimes these medics can be very feelingless, especially when it comes to issues of patients. And I want to say that even as patients, they move on because they are strong-willed. That they are strongly, they want to survive. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, there's need for us to come up with a policy that protects patients and also indemnifies patients who would die in the careless hands of medics, so that medics are more careful when it comes to handling patients. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, there are also some Kenyans who have chronic diseases like cancer, high blood pressure and all that. Those chronic diseases should be factored in, so that there's even a stipend for patients with cancer. Reality on the ground. There are very many cancer patients who languish in their homes. They have no help at all, and yet there's a lot of money that is in the health, in the docket of health. So there's need for the government to intervene and see that they're doing something for patients who have, cancer. I know of even one who is languishing in Githurai. She keeps calling me, telling me she's in anguish, she's in a lot of pain, she doesn't know what to do, and there's no one to take care of her. So reality on the ground should reach, the highest authority, so that practically on the ground, people with cancer are actually, helped. I know there's a county that already has a stipend for people with cancer, but there's need from all counties, in fact, to have such preparations, so that we feel the Kenyans who are going through these chronic diseases. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that I support this statement, and I hope this report, and I hope also NHIF will be able to cover such patients who go through dialysis, such patients who go through cancer, so that it is indeed free, because we have to abide by the Abuja Declaration that 50% of the national revenue collected should go to health, and this should be practical on the ground, so that there is service delivery and Kenyans feel it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support this statement, this report.
Lastly, Senator Kilonzo Mutula Jr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the...
Yes, I know yours blinked also.
Who?
I'll come back to you.
Oh, there's somebody else, okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you,
Senator.
Madam Speaker. First, to say that I personally thought that the committee would give this report a little earlier, but since they have made their report, we commend them for taking good action. Second, Madam Speaker, from my experience, and Senator Orengo here can confirm, that medical negligence cases are the most, if not the hardest difficult cases to do anywhere to seek compensation. If you doubt, look at the Chesoni case versus Silverstein and see how difficult it is. This gentleman Walibora, who died in hospital because he could not get attention. A friend of mine died in Nairobi Hospital in the triage because it took too long to get medical care. Madam Speaker, and we challenge the Committee of Health. We have a lot of faith in you. The secret to making sure that we do not end up in these cases is to improve public health. The private sector in health is doing business. They don't care about people. And their work is to make money. In fact, when you die, your bills are higher than even when you are alive. It's actually easier, Madam Speaker, to remain alive than to be sick in Kenya. Because the sort of bills that are sent to us by our constituents when they are unwell or when they are detained in hospitals all over the country, including Kenyatta National Hospital, is extremely disturbing. That the Committee of Health, both in National Assembly and Senate, gives Kenyatta National Hospital so much money, and yet Kenyans are being detained. Every time there's a small case, you see the committee running there to get 1 or 2 patients released, but the reality is that patients all over, people have left their loved ones in Kenyatta National Hospital mortuary because they cannot afford the bills. But the negligence of our medical fraternity is something that is of a national concern, because I've seen what it has done to families. And the doctors are happy because, unlike lawyers, Madam Speaker, who are prepared to testify against one another, doctors do not give evidence against their colleagues. They will not, because it's an expert opinion. So, since we know they will not agree, they protect their own. The best is to make sure that we get the best medical care, but of importance is emergency care. We must find somewhere in the Health Act to have emergency care for accident victims, persons who are found on the roadside, persons who are either shot accidentally, so that, Madam Speaker, they don't have to recognize your face or recognize the face of a Kenyan they know, so that they treat them. And lastly, NHIF is the biggest scandal in Kenya. It's worse than Goldenberg. They collect 40 billion shillings. Even for us, what they do, Madam Speaker, is ridiculous. They pay 2,000 shillings for a bed. I mean, which bed costs 2,000 shillings? Really? 2,000? So if you spend a week in hospital, the most NHIF is paying is 14,000 shillings. Committee of Health, we are calling upon you to find a way that we can deal with this sector. This sector is rotten, absolutely. But we thank you for standing firm with the statement of Senator Beth Mugo. Senator Beth Mugo rarely brings such issues. For Senator Beth Mugo to have brought a matter of this nature, it just simply means that Beth Mugo, who we know very well, would have used other sources to go to this hospital, but came to you, the Committee of Health, is just a vote of confidence on this Senate. And I hope, Madam Speaker, that our recommendations can be followed up to some extent. This Senate doesn't have an implementation committee. I wonder how our decisions are implemented, but I've learned to live with whatever it is that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Senator of Mombasa, Senator Mohamed Faki.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii pia kuchangia taarifa iliyoletwa bungeni na kamati ya afya. Kwanza Bi Speaker, naunga mkono mapendekezo ya kamati ya afya kuhusiana na kifo cha bibi katika hospitali ya MP Shah. Mheshimiwa Speaker, visa vya Wakenya kufariki katika hali kama hizi vinaendelea kuongezeka kutokana na ajizi ama utepetevu katika hospitali zetu, na pia madaktari ambao viapo vyao hawezi kuvitekeleza kikamilifu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, imekuwa ni biashara kubwa sasa kufungua hospitali, lakini huduma zinatolewa katika hospitali zile, Mheshimiwa Speaker, mara nyingi huwa haziridhishi. Ndugu yangu Senator Makueni
na msibabaishwe na yale mnayoyapitia, hata yawe magumu kiasi gani. Yote yatapita. La msingi ni kuweka tumaini letu kwa Mungu aliyetuumba. Katika kitabu cha Warumi 5 mstari wa 3